Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm gonna be drawing Cole from Dragon Age Inquisition. I was feeling kinda stressed out and so I just decided to pull up some refs and see what I could make out of it. Pretty satisfied with it overall. There's not a lot of complex stuff that happens in this, so I figure when I run out of stuff to say about the art itself, I'll just talk about Dragon Age. So, back when I was younger, I was super afraid of messing up even sketches, so, it's always pencils and lots of erasers. But nowadays, I mostly use markers. These are sort of some kind of weird highlighter, and then I'll go over the highlighter sketch with some Sharpies to kind of figure out where all my lines are, and that's my preferred method of sketching. I will say I did have to pull up a good number of references just because Cole has such a unique face, because he's inhabiting this image of a boy who died from starvation, so he's sort of corpse-ish a bit. And then this is just some watercolor paper, and back when I was first doing drawing, all I could find for light boxes was, those big tilted boxes, a couple $100, but now you can get a nice thin one like this for, $20-30 online. Very nifty. But I did have to order a new one because my other one finally just gave out. The USB port and all that kind of stuff just was like brr, and was like, well, can't do much about that. So I got this one, and I do actually quite like it a lot better. I think it's a lot brighter than my last one. And if you hold down because you see there's only one button on it, but if you hold it, it'll, dim it or brighten the light. But as far as I know, this is as bright as you can get it. There we go. So now I've just got some acrylic paint, and this is sort of a whim sort of decision, because I actually haven't done straight up regular brush painting in, I'd say, a good couple of years. Well, probably longer than that, because my most prominent memory of, just painting straight with brushes was in high school, and I was always very frustrated with it. I didn't feel like I could get the nice smooth lines that I wanted, so I kind of became obsessed with the thought that, I can probably do color better with markers, and, well, I didn't quite go over the way that I wanted it to. I do use some paint markers and other things now, but back then I was under the impression that the tool would just make me better, and obviously not. It's pretty obvious. You have to practice with any medium. Just having the thing wasn't gonna make your art better. But I was frustrated because I couldn't get nice crisp lines or the depthness of paint that I wanted. But when I did this one, I just decided to do it, and it actually turned out fine. It turned out just fine. And I think that I hadn't done brushes for so long because of the high school art class memories. And it's like, well, even though I haven't been necessarily practicing with, a brush and paint, I've been sort of practicing in disciplines around it, so I've leveled up enough where I do have better control with it. I just hadn't thought about that until just now. But yeah, it turned out fine, and I'm finally getting to use this gold that I got in a way that I'm satisfied with, because if you watch the Decadent phone case one, Decoden, I really need to figure out how that word is pronounced. But anyway, if you watch that one, you would have seen the gold didn't quite come out how I had initially wanted it. But in this painting, since I wasn't mixing it with anything, other than water, of course, it came out exactly how I wanted it to. Now, this version of the video, a lot was cut. This actually took me about an hour and a half or so to do. So I think I cut out most of the bits where, I did a couple layers of paint. So don't be disillusioned into thinking like, oh wow, you're able to get those results in one pass. Like, no, I did several layers of all of the colors, but I just cut them out for this one, or else I'd never get it down to 30 or 40 minutes. But I was really satisfied with the shimmeriness of the gold. I know it's a long shot, but like the other day I saw someone be like, BioWare put out updated HD Dragon Age Origins, and I was like, damn. That would be pretty dope, though. I love me some Dragon Age Origins. Like, there's like two areas in that game that is just the worst. And it's also a very long game. So, like, sometimes, like when I still had a copy of it, sometimes I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll play through again. But then I remember some of the stuff and how long it is, and I was like, maybe not. Maybe I'll just watch the YouTube videos of it. Because there's a bit in the tower that once you enter this particular area, you cannot leave until you finish the area. So like if you just went in with like no potions or anything, it sucks majorly to do that. And then there's also another area where the same thing happens, where you get trapped in this area and you cannot leave until you finish it. And it's like a boss fight. So again, if you haven't brought your supplies, it's just a lot of, going through the same cutscene again and again and again, just sort of trying to, punch through a brick wall to get through that bit. So that does super suck. But other than that, most of the map is, like, you can come and go from areas, and it's pretty obvious, like, when you're going to enter a boss area or whatever, so you can leave and go stock up before you go into the next room. It's just those two areas that didn't necessarily have like any prior warning that that's going to happen. I'm trying to be vague because I'm like, but what if BioWare released, updated HD or Dragon Age Origins? I don't want to reveal everything about it, even though it's been out for a good long while. Because what if they did do that? And then people who played, like, Inquisition could play the original. Because, like, I'd say this is both a pro and a con, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But, like, Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, that's 1, 2, 3, and then there's like a DLC in between Origins and 2 called Awakening. But all of those games are vastly different. They're all in the same universe, but, and I mean, I'm not saying different in that, like, oh, the combat system and all your menus and things are also different. No. I mean, they do update that stuff over time, because, like, Dragon Age Origins is more... The combat was more... You were supposed to go into this, like, sort of over-the-top strategy map, and then you could, instruct your different companions to do different things, sort of deal. You didn't have to use that, but you could. And the mages didn't look, like, super cool doing their stuff, but then in 2, they made mages look super cool, and made the combat, a little more, intuitive isn't the word, like, maybe engaging? Like, a little more engaging for, like, console players, where there was, like, a lot more, movement and action going on with the combat. I mean, and again, like, they already had that in Origins, like, if you were playing, a rogue or whatever, or a warrior, but if you were a mage, you just sort of, like, stood there and lifted your staff from time to time. But in 2, like, you're doing flips and shit, and, like, like, it was super cool when it first showed up. But no, it's not really the combat that's so vastly different in all of them. It's like the storytelling format. Because, okay, so the first one is very much a, the hero has to save the entire world. Like, all the world is in danger. So, like, you have to deal with, like, different, gathering, like, different races, factions. Like, you gotta go gain help from the elves and the dwarves, and it's like it's very vast, the stakes. And then in Awakening and 2, it's a lot smaller. In Awakening, the group that you're part of in Origins and Awakening is you're part of this group called the Grey Wardens. So in Awakening, you're part of the Grey Wardens too, but your stuff is a little smaller scale. And then in 2, you're not part of the Grey Wardens anymore. You and your family are refugees from the main place from the first one called Ferelden. You're refugees from there, and you've gone, across the sea to this just little place called Kirkwall, and more or less the whole game takes place in Kirkwall, and it's more about the politics happening within this small town. And that's not necessarily bad. It's just very, very different. So, if you were really, really into that, huge, large-scale stakes and odds and saving the world kind of thing, and then you go into 2 and it's sort of just like dealing with town stuff, can be a little jarring. But there was something that I liked about that. Although, of course, just like any game, there were, like, actual problems. Like, the fact that there was not a lot of unique maps. Like, every cave looked the same, kind of thing. So after a while, if you'd been playing for a couple hours, you'd be like, wow, this cave, pretty sure I've been in here, like, 10 times. Oh, and back to the art for a second. Oh my god. So, there's always, like, that bit in a piece that you just labor over forever. Like, you get stuck in it. That was me with this collar. Like, at first, I wasn't liking this brown, and then I don't remember if I cut out the bits with the paint pen on the collar or not. I guess we'll see. We'll both be surprised. But so I wasn't satisfied with this brown at first. So then I brought in like a sort of like reddish brown paint marker that I kind of used around the edges, and then later on I tried to like fill in some bits with the paint marker and then try to like blend it into the brown, and then finally I ditched all of that and then just did a couple more layers of the brown over top of it. Like a lot of fiddling with it and then going back to the first thing. But sometimes you have to go through those kinds of things before you find out, what, actually the first solution was the best one that I had in my quiver at the time. But, you don't know that until you try some of the other ones. But back to Dragon Age. So yeah, like the lack of like a lot of unique maps in 2, I think could probably really turn you off from playing it, just because it's like the setting and the story, it's already like so small scale, and then having every single area kind of be a repeat, rehash, remix. I was like, But just like in Origins and Awakening, still have really good characters and great voice acting. Oh, there was that's also another thing that, like, again, 2 isn't bad, it's just such a different game. Because in Origins, it was like, you got like, 5 or 6 different character origins that you could do. So it was like, I think you had like 2 for each race. So now, you could be a noble dwarf, or I'm trying to think what the word is. Like, dirt poor dwarf. And then the same thing with the elves. You could be a Dalish elf, which is like the elves that frolic in the woods, or you could be a city elf. And that is one thing that that's interesting about Dragon Age, is that elves aren't like these high up ethereal beings sort of deal like they are in, say, Lord of the Rings. Like, they had all this shit happen to them like thousands of years ago or whatever, and so they lost most of their culture, and so like the Dalish ones are the ones who are trying to reclaim and refine things about the past elves, and the city elves they're basically, they're living in slums. A lot of times they're taken advantage of by humans who see them as lower than themselves. So it's a very different dynamic than most fantasy media that has elves in them. But yeah, so there was a lot of different possibilities for who your character was and where they came from, and all of the origins were very unique to each other. And later down the line with the story, different origins might intersect with each other. So, if you played one origin and then you do decide to maybe start a new game but do a different one, you might see different things that happened from your previous origin and how they intersect with the other ones. So there was a lot of possibilities for who your character was and how they interacted with the world at large. But in 2, you played as Hawk. You could be a woman or a man, but you were a human, and your family was Hawk, and you came from Ferelden, was a refugee from there with your family. It's like you, your mom, your brother and sister. So again, just like how the story is more contained, who you were was contained too. And when the initial news of that came out, a lot of people were like, what? Because there was so much your character could be in Origins that this felt like a step back. But in the end is actually, I don't know if it's not a worse game because of it. And I understand why they did that from, how they worked their narrative. I understand why they did that. But again, it's one of those things where, you finish Origins and, you're ready to go to the next game, and it's like, oh, well, you have to be a human. You have all this. Gosh dang it. Those sticky hooks that I have are just not working. My hats keep falling down. Also, you see this, this black is kind of shimmery too. So really, I'd say the only colors in this that aren't sort of metallic or shimmery is the pinkish bits I do on the skin and the collar, because I got because I only got one so that I could try it out. I got a Wink of Stella glitter pen, a glitter brush pen, and it's so it's sort of one of those things where you gotta shake it up and squish it some to get the fluid down into the tip of it. But it's very glittery. It works excellent. I just have to be careful not to accidentally pump too much, because it, whatever you put over it. Because the one that I got, they have ones that are different color glitter, but the one that I got was sort of the clear-ish version. But even though that's what it is, it lightens the color you put on top of it a little bit, but honestly that's fine, and it works in my favor here because it just matches Cole's whole look, because he's supposed to look sort of ghostly, because he's a spirit, and he's a spirit who took the image of a dead boy, basically. So like he's supposed to sort of have that kind of look. So it worked well in my favor. Oh wow, look, we're like 25 minutes in, and I haven't even talked about Cole. I haven't even talked about the game that he's in, which is the third game, Inquisition. Okay, so, but yeah, so, a little jarring going from, if, like, I was playing Dragon Age when, it all first came out, so, like, I couldn't just play Origins and then 2 back to back. Like, I was having to wait for the release of the second one, so it'd been a grip since I'd played, Origins. Or maybe not. I don't remember if it was a thing where, when, like, the sequel to a game is about to come out, you go back and play the first one, kind of refresh yourself. I don't remember if I did that. It's been a while. But, so yeah, Cole here, he's from Dragon Age Inquisition. And that one again has you playing, a completely different character. So all the main characters in each of the different ones, they're different people. But in Inquisition, you do sort of hear about your previous characters. Because your character from Origins, they're known as the hero of Ferelden or whatever. And Hawk from the second one is the champion of Kirkwall. So you hear of them in Inquisition. But man, they had like a really difficult, weird method of trying, because there's, different, because there's some things from previous games that pop up in Inquisition, but it's dependent on your choices. Oh yeah, I didn't even bring that up. The Dragon Age is a game where you do have like some choices as to how you want to handle different situations and things, and companions will approve or disapprove, depending on their views. So when Inquisition came along, they had this real weird method to like transfer your previous choices into Inquisition. Because it was like this weird thing where you had to like sign into your Bioware account or whatever, and then go and choose all your different things on the website, and then you were supposed to like connect that to your game on whatever console or whatever. But like, I don't know if I just sucked butts with computers or if it was actually difficult, because again, it's been a grip since I'd actually like physically sat down and like played and like had been doing that stuff. But it was just weird, and so I ended up just doing like a default world because of it. But Inquisition is again is a lot more like Origins, where this great evil has come upon the land, and it's up to you and your gang of fellows to try to stop it. And I will say, and right there, it's a metallic gold paint marker. One of those ones that you gotta pump. So apologies for the shakiness right there. But what was I gonna say? But yeah, I will say this is definitely one of those game series that has like a lot of lore and fantasy terms, because when I'd initially gotten back into, like, I went and I saw a cheap copy of Inquisition, and I was like, you know what, I never actually got to beat this game. Let's go for a whirl, because I love me some Dragon Age. My stepdad tried to play some of it, but and I don't know if it was necessarily because of this, but I could see where this could turn someone off. This is the third in the series, so there's like a lot of like, political shit between, the mages, and like there's a faction called the Templars who are supposed to like guard mages because they're dangerous or whatever, so they have techniques and things to disperse magic, and so like there's all this like Civil War kind of stuff going on between the mages and the Templars, and there's the Chantry, which is the fantasy church, and like there's all of this shit going on that to someone who'd never played this series, it'd be like, there sure is a lot of talking happening in this game, and I don't know why. And because this is one of those games where there is just like a lot of, characters talking at you talking to them, you gotta make choices in the dialogue. Oh, there's that brownish red paint marker I mentioned before. Ugh. Just did not look good. Does not look good. I was hoping, but again, you just gotta find what works. You gotta dig through all your ideas and find the one that works. But yeah, there is a lot of talking in Inquisition. Like, there's a lot of fighting too, but also like the first area you're dumped in is mostly fighting. Like, there's like, you go in there and like you're fighting the Templars and the mages, and you're like, yeah, okay, getting stuff done, and you turn around and a bear kills you. Like, the most dangerous thing in the first area is just bears, not the people who can like manifest fire and ice and lightning, and not like the super powerful like big knight dudes. No, it's just the most dangerous thing is a bear. Like, when you're lower level, you see a bear, you just like gotta try to run away and hope it disengages at some point, because sometimes they'll just follow you all over the map. Sometimes enemies, they just will not disengage, and you're like, well, this sucks, because I'm about to die. I can't teleport or do any of that stuff until they leave me alone. But yeah. I have like 2 of the Dragon Age novels, like the ones that are about like stuff in the first game. And I realize now I never ended up finishing reading them. I don't think I ever even really got that far in them. And I don't remember why. I should probably try to read those again at some point. Because I did buy them. And I do like Dragon Age. And I do like the characters that the books focus on. It's just one of those things where, like, back in high school and stuff, you just fucking eat books. because it's like, well, you finish something in this class, and it's not like you can just leave. Just get a book out, you know? Oh, you're bored? Just read a book. And tell the fantastical adventures of, you know, whomever. I don't know. But, like, now it's like, well, I could be doing this adult thing I need to do, or, like, this other thing, or whatever. Like, you have a lot more time that you can personally fill, and so it's easy to be like, well, you know, I'm sure I'll find time or, like, a want to read at some point, and you just don't. And, like, I feel bad about it sometimes, because, like, I do want to get back into reading. Maybe, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if there's, like, some sort of method online to help you get back into it, because it's just like a habit, like, you know, anything else. Yeah, maybe I'll Google that after this. I don't know. Oh, and I don't know if any of you will mistaken this, but when my stepdad did look at this picture, before I'd added the last things, he did ask if, like, the hat bit was real big ears, and I was like, no, that's, like, the inside of his hat. He has a very large hat. Our sweet Cole does. By the way, Cole is a sweet boy. He says a lot of cryptic stuff because he's a spirit, and he can kind of read. Well, not he can't, like, straight up read your mind. It has to be things associated with ways that he can help you, because he's a particular kind of spirit. He's a spirit of compassion. So he can only hear certain things. But man, when he does, he just likes to blurt stuff out about your personal life, and it's like, Cole, I love you, but please not in front of, like, everyone we know. Oh man, I was scared about doing this part with the eyes, because, like, man, the eyes can really make or break an image you make. Because I was like, I've already, you know, recorded so much of this, and if I mess up the eyes right here, well, that would just majorly suck. On right here, I've got, like, some thick tape and some fake flowers. Oh yeah, I futz with this one for a good while, and I have to take it off and move it back. And you see I ripped the paper a little bit there, but it's fine because you won't even see it, because I only need to move the flower back a little bit. But this was kind of my, because I didn't put it in, but I did try to add the rest of his hat up top, and I just could not get it. So this was kind of my solution to that, because it looked weirdly empty up there. So I thought, you know what, some fake flowers. I had some of these little, you see they're buttons, because I got the buttonholes, these little butterfly buttons. Just add some of that, because I like doing mixed media shit. Yeah, I don't know if y'all find my ramblings and talking on and off and whatever interesting. If you do or you don't, let me know. You know, I can have the next couple draw with me, just have the music like the first one. Yeah, just leave me your feedback, and you can purchase this coal piece over on my Gumroad. I have it linked down below. But thanks for coming and hanging out with me. I think this coal ended up pretty good for as spur of the moment it was, because I really wasn't planning on doing a whole piece like this, but it ended up very nice and I'm very satisfied with it. Y'all should play Dragon Age if you like them fantasy RPGs where you got choices and stuff like that. It's a good game series. I mean, it's got its faults like any other, but it's fun. I like it. Alright, I love y'all. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.